Hello, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the show. We're going to have a fun time today, and we're going to one of our favorite channels on this channel here, and that is Jubilee. Shout out to everybody at Jubilee. They have a series called The One, where they bring together 100 people and try to find one person who is the top of the specific characteristic. They've done beauty and body. Now they're doing IQ, and they've brought together 100 women to see if they can figure out who has the highest IQ. Then they take their IQ tests, actually rank them 1 to 100, and then we find out whether or not their prediction was correct. But before we get into that, we have Taylor in Nashville.
Hey, happy Wednesday from the smartest man you will hear from today. But we'll find out which of these women is the smartest. Unless they have a trans person, I guess, then maybe not.
Yes, smartest and only, I guess, we have going on this show today. Now, I did watch the 100 women figure out who has the top body or the perfect body out of the 100 of them. That's going to be on my second channel with my best friend Risa, so keep an eye out for that one. It was, like this is probably going to be, an exhausting watch because the women just kept complimenting each other and saying, oh, you look great, or you look great, or it really doesn't matter, and all these different things. And I understand women's proclivity to be super kind and to talk about how beauty is subjective and it's in the eye of the beholder and all these things, but damn, if I was in one of these episodes, I'm like, okay, we're here and we have an objective, and the objective is to find the one person. So let's get down to business and find this one person. And maybe that's my man brain speaking, but that is the way that I would view this task. And today we have 100 women coming together to see if they can figure out who is the woman with the highest IQ. So without further ado, let's watch.
Behind me, 100 women are currently taking an IQ test to figure out who is the least and most intelligent. Can they figure out who ranked the highest? Welcome to The One. It's time time for the first round, so we need the 10 people who believe they have the lowest IQ to leave. When you decide to leave, please exit by pressing the counter and then stepping aside. Your time starts now.
Okay, so they already took an IQ test. You know, I don't know how valid I view IQ tests to actually be. I don't really put much, stock in them, but they do give you a reading of some form of intelligence. And I'd ask you guys, do you think you're going to leave in the first group of people? If they want the bottom 10 to leave the group, would you leave? I think I'd stick around a little bit longer if I was in a group of 100 or 99 other women and wait. Maybe the second round is where I'm going to see myself out. Would you guys be leaving in the first round? I know some people would say, well, odds are you're not number one, so you might as well leave in the first round. Are you one of those people? Let me know down below. Let's see what these women have to say.
Oh, I'm down. I'm out of here.
Okay, they're bouncing. This is quick.
The reason I left first is because I knew like one question on that test. So I graduated when I was 16. That is smart, but I also looked up the answers. So I feel like I'm more of a creative person than someone that is smart. I've never been that bright in the books.
They're dropping like flies. If you guys watched the beauty episode, getting 10 of these women to leave was like asking them to cut off their left pinky. No girl was leaving. They were staying in that little circle till the lights went off.
I was like about to speak, boom, just a bunch of people left. I was like, oh shoot, well, guess I'll stick around for a while, see what's going on.
It was really kind of upsetting to see that so many women were so quick to kind of dismiss their own abilities and their own capabilities and to leave immediately. But I know what it feels like to be in that position where you just feel like you aren't capable, even though deep down you are.
I'm gonna ask a question, and the question is, why is that upsetting? I don't understand why that would be an upsetting thing to experience, because if you know from the standpoint of having taken the IQ test and you take it and you say, like that girl Sasha, she said, I got one question on that entire test. I only answered one question. Then, you know, if we're being smart, you probably are in the bottom 10 and you need to see yourself out. We don't need to view that as something that is a horrible thing to acknowledge. We need to acknowledge reality sometimes. And the reality is that, you know, if you've taken an IQ test and answered one question, and you're in a group of 100 girls who are also ranking themselves, you should probably see yourself out in the first round. And there's a difference between, you know, self-deprecation and putting yourself down and having self-awareness. And we need to draw that distinction, acknowledge that distinction, and accept it. It doesn't have to be disempowering to acknowledge where you are in the world. And it doesn't mean you're not going to progress out of that position. It's just to say, I'm self-aware and I know where I stand on this issue, at least at this very moment. Okay, let's keep watching.
Well, that's the fastest that's ever gone. Let's move on to the next round. Welcome to round 2. We're asking you to leave if you believe you're ranked 50 and below. You have 5 minutes for 40 people to leave. Your time starts now.
Okay, 40
Growing
people.
up, like I always thought of myself to be intelligent, but like I was like a B+ student. Like I never had like a 4.0 or whatever, and like I even didn't really do well on tests. Yeah. Have you heard that statistic, right? Like if like applying for the same job, like it's much higher that the man will apply with less qualifications than a woman who's overly qualified to apply for the same job.
And then the man will like exaggerate what he's like going to do. Yeah.
I work in the medical field and it's predominant.
I think we could actually learn from men on that point that they were just making. It's interesting that it sort of very quickly became a male-female discussion when that's really not the objective of what they're here to do today. But I digress. We'll get into it. That's actually true what she said, that men are far more prone to take risks when it comes to their capabilities and their achievements, and they are more likely to apply for jobs or go after opportunities that they are less than qualified for. And they say, you know what, I'll put my name in the hat. I'm going to, appear in this room with confidence. I'm going to stand up for myself and I'm going to go for something that I may be less than qualified for because there's a chance that I gain that position. And that is actually, I would argue, a part of the wage gap that we're experiencing right now, where the wage gap that people like to point to when it comes to comparing women and men. Men are far more willing to go and take that risk, where women sort of look at themselves and go, oh, well, I don't feel qualified, so I'm not going to go for that position. I'm going to go for something that I'm equally or more or too qualified for. And those are the jobs that I'm going to apply for, because they don't want to take the risk of being rejected, and they kind of don't want to be found out as being less qualified for the position. So maybe we could, get a little tip from the men and start going for things that we're unqualified for, which, funnily enough, is what the women did in the beauty episode, because homegirls were gripping on for dear life to stay in that circle when they were asked to leave. So we need to start changing that up and going for things that mean more, the intellect, the money, the job, the opportunity, rather than holding on to these like subjective views of beauty and this whole idea that it's in the eye of the beholder, which is true. But come on now, we're here to achieve something. We're here to get something done. Let's get it done.
Male, and they often look down upon like female doctors.
Yeah, because in nursing, guess what? It's women, but it gets just higher up. It's men. So it's like we have to prove ourselves more intelligence-wise, even though like a lot of men know that we're smarter in a sense. It's like yeah, men are like the ones who kind of predominantly take the field, and I wonder if it's like a deeper meaning that I won't really get into.
I need captions on this. What are they saying? They're saying that men are, taking up space in when they're doctors and in the medical field, and that women need to be more represented, I guess, in that space, but men are comfortable taking on that position and looking down on women. Now, I can't speak for all people in the medical field. I'm sure there are some condescending doctors that look down on their nurses or other women in the field, but, that's up to you. Girl, you want to be a doctor? Go make yourself a doctor. If anything, you got a leg up in the whole industry now and in medicine, and they're looking for women who want to take on those positions, and they're giving you, they're putting you multiple steps ahead of the men who are also going for those positions. So if you're a woman, or even better than that, a woman of color who wants to be in medicine and wants to be a top dog, then there's no better time than now. There's no better position to be in if that's the field that you want to go into. But I wish she had gotten more. She said, there's not things that I'm going to divulge right now. I'm not going to get into the deeper meaning behind what I'm saying. Girl, give me the deeper meaning. Don't just stick with the surface level stuff. I need to hear what you're actually trying to say and what you're actually getting at. It's just a little frustrating.
Biology and applied mathematics, like women and intelligence is such a super, super important topic, because we're super underrepresented in those fields as women. It's so empowering to see other women doing the things you want to do. I want to get my PhD, I want to go to law school. Those are things that seeing women in those positions of power and knowing I'm intelligent enough to get there with them is so, so empowering.
Women, we are growing in so many ways, but then when a lot of people left at the beginning, as opposed to
it's sad.
It made me sad
because it's you should be proud of you should be proud of how intelligent you are, and society puts women down.
I feel like women, that's the least thing we think that we're competent in, but yet we are.
Who's putting you down? Who's telling you that you're not capable of, achieving something, or you're not being intelligent? If anything, the exact opposite is happening right now. Now, I would argue that these sort of affirmative action measures that women are benefiting from are putting you down in a sense, because they really are saying, if you are a woman, we need to give you extra benefit in order for you to be in the same spaces as men. So, fundamentally, that is wrong, and that is viewing you as inferior. But they're arguing that just the average, everyday, society is what views women as being less intelligent or less capable. I'm sorry, I just don't see that anymore. I'm not sure, who's saying that. Maybe, guys on Reddit and 4chan or something like that, but nobody's actually, I don't know, perpetuating that, I feel, in this day and age. I'm just not seeing it anymore.
And if anything, there's an achievement gap between men and women that favors women, and that they're achieving higher in terms of academic success, in terms of career success in recent decades. But I'm also noticing a little bit of a pattern of some language around just oppression dynamics, and saying that only the men are occupying positions of power, women are underrepresented. And it's just lending itself to a little bit of the narrative that some of these women are bought into is informing how they're approaching this discussion around taking an IQ test, and they're introducing all these different social dynamics that are around that are power centric instead of like reality centric, and they're minimizing the impact of sex differences on things like wage gap or things like achievement, things like getting a job in a certain field, and instead attributing everything to misogyny or the oppression that they're having by virtue of being women's and playing the identity politics thing. And it's just interesting to see how that worldview is sort of coloring how they're dealing with facts and how they see themselves in this.
Yeah, I'm wondering if they're getting to that conclusion on their own, or if Jubilee is prompting them to have discussions about these specific topics, because that very well could be what's going on. You could have the producers in the background saying, hey, could you talk about the wage gap? Could you talk about how you view female intellect versus male intellect and how that's affected by society? But if they're jumping to these conversations on their own, it's very telling as to how they view the world. Because in my mind, I'm like, girls, we are here to take an IQ test. We took the IQ test. We all have our numbers. How do we decipher who has the highest IQ? What were your grades like in school? Have you taken an IQ test before? What are you studying right now? What is your occupation? Like, what do you do in your free time? I'd be trying to ask these hard-hitting questions that actually tell me something about your ranking so that we can decipher that, rather than getting into this whole, I'm a woman and it's so difficult and here's how women's intellect has been viewed. I'm like, damn, I can't sit here through this. I'm gonna walk out just for the sake of, I don't want to have to sit through these many conversations about how hard it is to be a woman.
Like insanely smart.
I think it's also just taking an IQ test. Like, people don't measure intelligence.
Intelligence and IQ are two very different
from
things.
like your social skills and like just stuff like that. To common sense street smarts versus just like IQ.
We got scores our whole life. Like, we have a number in our head because they kept telling us our grades.
I think it still doesn't even tell you if you understand the concept. It tells you how good of a test taker you are.
I know.
How good you were at memorizing the material, but it doesn't necessarily measure how much you understood the material.
Right.
Okay, so the strategy here is invalidate the test because we are scared to see what the answer is, which is fine. Like, okay, if you take the IQ test and you're in the lower percentile, or it's fine. Like, I'll take myself out, and that's okay. And if I'm up there and I'm number one, that's cool too. We're not saying that the IQ test is like labeling you for the rest of your life about how valuable you are as a human being and how much intellect you have. We're just saying you guys took an IQ test, probably a cheap ass IQ test that's available on the internet, given that it's 100 of you taking it in one room for Jubilee, and we found a number, and then here it goes. It's not going to define you for the rest of your life, but it's either invalidate the test or invalidate the structure of society that is brought about the test that I am now taking as a woman, when we could just accept the reality and just move on.
I feel like a lot of people are...
There's a little bit of semantics here too. She said like intelligence and IQ are two very different things. And it depends on what you mean by that. In a technical sense, it's intelligence quotient. It's assigning a numerical value based on a cognitive test score that is relatively objective in its measurement to your intelligence, what we're referring to technically as intelligence. So they're not two different things in that sense. Now, does that mean that it is the full measure of your capability as a human being, that you're not capable of having ideas and being smart in other senses of the word besides that narrow definition of intelligence? No, it doesn't mean that at all. So I just think it's important to be precise in a language here. And I guess it's unfortunate that there is the technical term intelligence in the study of cognitive ability is overlapped with our general use of the term intelligence for just somebody who's smart and can do things. But that doesn't, to say that they're 100% mutually exclusive, I think is just inaccurate and kind of undercuts what you're here for.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they need to nuance.
Going to underestimate themselves and sort of value the wrong thing and leave for that reason.
Yeah.
Ironically, I think probably a lot of people who left at the beginning probably were incredibly intelligent and they should have stuck around. I grew up a very smart kid. It kind of became the way I defined myself, and I think it ended up being how I valued myself growing up. I was valedictorian and got really high grades, and then went to college and did the same thing. And moving from a very achievement-based field into acting, the arts, which is so completely out of left field in terms of achievement-based,
was a really hard pivot for me. It's honestly been a really important shift for me as an individual because I can no longer place value in something that I would get a number for.
Yeah. I would say that anyone that's leaving, now that I'm talking, which might be me, a little more emotionally, like confident in their emotional intelligence.
It's tough because emotional intelligence is still intelligence.
Yeah,
like,
but it's not like math problem.
But they're talking about just IQ right
now.
Yeah,
so based off of like this actual experiment, I guess like whoever should leave is like who feels like they didn't do the best on the actual test because that's what we're ranking. So I think.
Thank you. Thank you for getting there. Thank you for sharing that opinion. 100%. Also, she's gorgeous, by the way. But yeah, that's true. We're just here about the test you guys took like 5 minutes ago. So we should probably focus on that.
I had a teacher pretty much call me out and call me stupid in front of the whole class. And that devastated me because from home, I had all this love and support. But when I was outside in the real world, somebody pretty much told me that I was dumb. And that really, I took it to heart back then. And it really made me insecure about my intelligence.
Okay, everyone.
What a horrible teacher. Wow, that sounds not cool at all. If you're teaching and you're calling students stupid or dumb, you should probably not be in that career.
We have 2 minutes left. 40 people will need to leave during that time.
Okay, 40 people.
Oh my God!
I mean, why not? Once we get in the top 10, I'm gonna see. They're definitely at the
Sorry, Mom and Dad, if you see this. I didn't have parents that are educated, and I feel like I have always been a little bit slower to learn, you know? So, like, I had a hard time, but it's no big deal.
In this envelope, I have your score, your rank out of 100 people. 1 is the top, and 100 is the lowest. I'm going to hand it to you, and I want you to think about whether or not you want to open it. It's completely your choice.
I already saw it. Oh, God. Okay, I'm just going to open it because I think that this will be comedy. Oh, my God. Bro, I can't even, can't do a test, can't open an envelope. So I got my score. You know what? That's not the lowest, though. So dude, I only answered 2 questions, and that's not the lowest. So I don't know which one of you. Thank you so much.
I think it's for the girl who said before that she only answered 1. That's interesting. So she only answered 2 questions. I feel bad for her because she does feel, you can tell she feels the need to like be self-deprecating and put herself down a lot and like add, comedy into what is very real world experience, that she grew up with parents who didn't happen to have the resources to be educated, and that has clearly impacted her education. But you know what? My boyfriend's mom is a teacher, and she's talked about her philosophy as a teacher not being to label kids as like smart and stupid, which happens a lot in school. When you're in class as a student, you get your test scores back and everybody's looking for the people who scored 90 and above, and those are the smart students. And yes, they deserve praise for being able to achieve, but her philosophy as a teacher was, if I have students that aren't quite, making those grades, I'm not looking for that like basic number that lies at the top of their test when I grade it. I'm looking for progress. So if you start out in my class and you're getting a 15 on my test, but the next time you take one, you're moving up to 20, or you're moving up to 25, or to 40, or you're moving up the scale, that's true progress, and that shows to me that you're learning. So often we write off students that are bringing in lower scores than what we consider to be, great scores, without accounting for the fact that they're making progress and they're capable of making a lot of progress. And I think that philosophy is so much more powerful than just writing off people based on whether they got an A, a B, or C. And we can sort of train our brains into making those judgments on that basis, because in a lot of ways, that's how our education is formatted and that's how people view education. But I think the best thing you can do as a teacher is just try to focus on progress from whatever point each of your student is coming at you with. And we're all capable of progress. The people who are in the 90s are capable of progress. The people who are in the 20s are capable of progress. And I really appreciated her saying that. And I hope, this girl, Olivia, takes that with her too, because she feels the need to self-deprecate, but there's a lot of growth to be found there.
Thank you.
You should definitely say. I feel like
I should though. Like,
even
I don't feel like I should.
At least top 20.
Tough.
Yeah.
It's more like society's
Yeah, it's the
opinion.
social metric
You know what
versus
I mean?
like, I feel happy.
Exactly.
Like, if you feel smart, for some reason you can't like,
When you say, oh,
quantify
I'm
it.
smart, oh, I'm intelligent, it's like...
It's
Yeah.
like people.
Yeah, it's so cringy.
It is.
People think that you can't. I feel sad because it's like some people might be smarter than others, but you can't say that because it's socially conditioned. That you feel bad for being smart.
Skipping that. Sorry.
To leave and let
Okay.
top 50.
So she said that people are conditioned to sort of not be able to say that they're smart. I guess, yeah, it's sort of a social faux pas to pat yourself on the back for virtually anything. I guess it really just depends on how you do it. You can do it with humility, and then you can do it in a way that comes off as narcissistic or self-absorbed, and it's all about walking that line and doing the balancing act there, I guess.
This is so smart.
Now let's get back to the video. We're now left with the people who believe they're in the top 50 smartest people in the entire room. For this next round, we're asking you to leave unless you believe you're one of the top 10 smartest people. Your time starts now.
So that's definitely not me.
Okay, so 40 of them gotta go.
No, I think you should stay. I really think. Bio and biochem, we're literally on the same. We're the same thing. Like,
All the STEM people stay.
Yeah. We were just talking.
I didn't really grow up in like the U.S. education system. In general, I like to consider myself an intelligent person in different ways, but when it comes to U.S. standardized testing, I think being honest with myself, there is a gap in the way that I was taught versus how education is taught here. And on that note, I think I should politely exit, but
I guess that's valid. I don't know that the IQ test is universalized in that way. Like, does it transcend like U.S. standards? I don't know. It does.
I think it is meant to, not be localized, or it's meant to work across cultures, genders, age, etc. So I don't think that her reasoning would stand if you're going to ask someone who's like an IQ scientist. But there's probably something to be said for having different education system that raises you, and with regard to standardized tests in general. But I do think that the IQ test specifically is not one that is relative to like what sort of education you got.
Okay, gotcha. If there's anybody who's well versed in the IQ test, let us know down below. The only time I've ever taken an IQ test is like the cheap ones that you take on the internet, and I feel like it's not actually real. If I did it for free and it had like 20 questions, it's probably not legit.
Bye, Griff. I think I'm gonna exit too because I feel like for me, the definition of being intelligent is just so skewed by society. Which obviously I know I'm intelligent in many ways, but I know I'm good.
I just don't like this whole like intelligence is skewed by society, and it's like this whole thing that we don't have. You can feel that way about the general framework of intelligence, or like the word intelligence and all the different connotations and iterations of it. But you took an IQ test, which does track something in regard to intellect. So we should just acknowledge that and just say I'm gonna leave because I don't feel like I'm in the top 10 from the IQ test that we took. It's really as simple as that. It has nothing to do with like society's position on intelligence and how we view women. But I don't know why we cannot make that admission. And I'm curious if you guys feel like this is a gendered thing. For me, I don't know. I feel like men would view this more objectively and would just be like, I'm gonna leave because I don't feel like I scored that high on the test, bro. I'm just gonna step out. Whereas women are like, I'm gonna leave because, and we're all beautiful and we're all intelligent, and society is a patriarchy, and really intelligence is subjective, and it depends on what you mean by intelligence. Are you talking book smart? Are you talking street smart? I'm like, baby girl, just say you don't feel like you hit that number and see yourself out. It's okay. It's okay to do that.
It's interesting how like on a lot of videos that we've reacted to, we've talked about how like women tend to be more conscious of people's feelings and softer when they're delivering like bad news or anything like that. Like if they're gonna turn a guy down, they kind of couch that in some nice language, usually, hopefully. But it's like, are they maybe doing that to themselves in this case, where you're like maybe not confident in your results or afraid of them, and so you have to construct this narrative that is like cushioning the blow, so to speak, or sort of justifying yourself from an emotional perspective rather than facing the cold hard facts and reconciling them. I don't know. That's where my mill brain's coming from.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, they're right about intelligence, like outside of an IQ test, that it comes in many different forms, and many different people have different forms of intelligence, and some people are intelligent in some respects and ignorant in others. That's totally fine. It just doesn't seem to be part of the framework of the video.
All right, you got this.
Yeah, that's true, huh?
All right, I know, but I'm not in the top 10, so I'm out.
No,
yeah, I know.
Stay. Bro, you're top 10. You better stay.
You stay. You stay.
I'm gone. So I left when I did because I know for a fact, I'm very self-aware, and I know out of 100 people, I'm not gonna be number one. I'm gonna open it because YOLO, and why not? Like, I know that it's not gonna be a very great number. What? This is not, are you serious?
There
That's
you go.
crazy. I don't believe this.
Hey, she did really well, you know? There's this tendency that I do think many women have. Men have this too, but like this tendency to self-deprecate, even though the reality is you don't know where you ranked. The reality is you don't know where you ranked. You're in a room full of 100 strangers, and you can sort of get a relative view of where you are by meeting people and having discussions with them, but the reality is you don't know. So for her to say, oh, I know the number's bad, so I'm just gonna go ahead and open it. The only purpose that has to say that is to just set yourself up for, not being too disappointed when you get your number, just in case you have failed by your own standards. And look, she was in fact in the top 10. So she's chilling. She didn't have to set herself up for failure. And so we do that to ourselves. We set ourselves up for failure, and that's just unnecessary negativity that you don't need in your life. The objective reality is you don't know where you ranked. Could have been good, could have been bad, and you got good news. So why inject the negativity into your mindset before you even know what the outcome is?
And also, this is kind of cute because 10 is actually my lucky number. So I feel very shocked, but also proud of myself. I feel content.
I'm not gonna lie, I tried really hard on the test, and I'm good at taking tests, but that doesn't mean I'm confident about how I did here. I also just heard that somebody here takes a lot of IQ tests, which I don't know how, but she might be the one.
I know I'm not the one, so I'm definitely gonna leave.
I'm a biology and applied mathematics. I want to go into environmental conservation, so I want to go for my PhD and that kind of stuff.
You know what? Yeah, you know PhD.
What are you studying?
No.
I believe that majority of people do believe I'm smart from the way I talk. The energy that I put off is a thing that just knows about a lot of things, even if I don't know it. With specifically an IQ test, I know that there are a lot more intelligent women in this room that have put more effort into learning these types of things. I am going to open this envelope, but I'm not determining this for anything. No, this is not, I did not. No, I don't. No, this is weird. Even though I said all those things, I'm in marketing. I have always been in the things in the arts, like acting and drama. I have not ever been the math part was so hard also. I did try. I tried very hard on this test, but I would never in a million years, 3, I would never, no.
So that was a good vibe. She was shocked when she did really well. Good for her.
Test, I don't feel like it was a really good analysis of my intelligence because I was taking it on my phone that had 3%. That was just my fault. But I have had an actual psychological evaluation for my IQ.
Hey, me and you in the same boat. Mine was for English literature. So they ranked me really high.
They also did that for me too.
I was like, okay. For IQ tests, as much as people like to say they're not important, they are, because it kind of gauges where we can go in society. Because, you don't want a brain surgeon, being really good at art and awful at math. That wouldn't really make any sense, so.
Yeah, I don't know that the IQ test in itself is all that important of an indicator as to where you go in life, but I do get what she's saying, that it does measure something and it does track for certain areas of life. I agree with her to that extent, but I don't know that I would place all that much of an importance on your IQ test. I feel like it only matters at the extremes of the different ends of the spectrum for the most part. Yeah.
Yeah, I mostly agree. I think like for specific domains like engineering or neuroscience or, programming or whatever, like your processor in your brain, like some people just have faster ones that do better in those fields. And so when you are approaching like those highly competitive fields that have a huge cognitive demand on you to perform, then of course they're going to be relevant. But I think she is kind of conflating like personality with intelligence, and like some artists are extremely high IQ, and that is just a thing. And just because you are high in like the personality trait openness, you're going to be more interested in art that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your IQ. So it's not that you need to be like a smart brain surgeon can't also be a great painter. That those aren't mutually exclusive. I don't think that's quite the right way of thinking about it. I think it's absolutely true that certain domains in the professional field, in the academic fields, do require a higher cognitive ability that you can measure with IQ. So I think that's true too.
Yeah, it does sound like they're kind of doing this black and white thing where like high IQ means like lawyer, doctor, physicist, and low IQ means like artist, actor, musician. And that is, yeah, you're right, not exactly correct.
I think it's important to a degree based off of what you as a person want to go into. Not the SATs though, nah, that ain't cute.
I think guys care more about IQ than women do. I've never cared.
Also, there's times in my life where I felt like I was really smart because of the environment I did, and then like especially, I definitely felt like stupidest person in the room many times. But I feel like you can always get smarter, so I'd rather be stupider and be getting.
No, okay, but don't call yourself stupid because you're not. Like you know what it is.
But I'm not really worried about my. You know what I mean? Like
yes,
I know I got
you
whatever
don't have to
I
prove
need
it.
to like. So
I get that. I wouldn't consider myself to be a very emotional person, but I get really emotional around like girls in general. I feel like I just feel really supported in this group, and I also feel girls tend to downplay their intelligence anyway. It says a lot about women just trying to be humble, and I think humility is a good thing, but I also think it's good to be forward with your gifts,
Because I have to question whether or not it actually is about trying to be humble. I have to think about that. Because there are some that I've seen in these like the one episodes where they're giving me the impression of trying to be humble when in reality they have a very different view of themselves that they're just not they're not willing to share out loud because they know it probably won't be well received amongst other women. And there's also a view of humility in its natural form, like if it's coming natural to you, wonderful thing. It's cool to be humble. I think it's good to humble yourself because you never know, and functioning from a space of humility is just reality and how things should be. But there are others who use humility as a shield, like a defense for realities that they don't want to confront. And we've seen that a couple times. These girls who are saying, oh, I'm dumb, or, IQ test doesn't measure you, or I can't even open the envelope. And these are somewhat statements of humility, but they're meant to shield you from the reality that's coming after the statement of humility. So I guess for some it is actually truly being humble. For others, I would question whether or not that's actually the case.
As you guys aren't leaving, I have to pair you up, and you have to decide between each other. Okay, so you two, you two, you two, you two. 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. Now that you guys are in pairs, you can either leave together or one of you must leave.
Oh, shoot. Oh.
Okay.
Are you so confident?
I have an envelope here with your score.
I feel like high school and college me would just die to know this number. I think I've done so much personal growth at this point that I honestly don't give a I really don't. This isn't a mark of my value as a human being. It doesn't define how I treat other people, and especially being a creative, it doesn't have any impact on my ability to share with the world my talent, which is acting. So I'm gonna choose not to open it.
Sorry, I'm laughing, not because there's really anything wrong with what she said, but this happened in the beauty one too, where a girl got up and she was supposed to get her ranking, which ranking for your body, I would argue, is like way worse than getting a ranking for your IQ from a test you just took on your cell phone. But she also gave a similar speech and then ripped the envelope. And I'm thinking to myself, one, from just my perspective, but also from the perspective of like being a creator of the show or a producer, like, damn it. I invited these girls on this show. They knew the premise of the show. They knew they were going to be ranked, and now she's refusing to open the envelope. But they gave them a choice to whether or not they wanted to open it, and she decided not to. But I have to challenge her in her logic, because if she's saying that the number doesn't matter and that it doesn't define her and that it means nothing about her capabilities and especially her talent as an actress, then why not open it and find out what your ranking is if it doesn't matter? Not opening it signals to me that if you were to open it, it would hold some significance to you, and that's why you are shielding yourself from getting the actual number of your ranking. So it's not actually matching up or making sense to me. Maybe she'd argue that, if I put the number out into the world, it reinforces the ranking system. But if it really didn't matter and it was just, a small measurement based on the test you just took, then open the damn envelope.
Right. And for me, it would make more sense if you believed that it was significant what was in the envelope, but I don't want to open it because I don't want what this cold hard fact about my IQ based on this test how I don't want that to affect my self-belief. I don't want it to affect my view of how I can navigate the world, my confidence in any way. I'm choosing not to look at it because I don't want to stake my confidence in this number or have insecurity based on this number. And I think that would be a more logical, healthy perspective to choose not to do it. But to say that it doesn't matter, therefore I'm not going to look at it, doesn't seem to be logically consistent.
It doesn't track. And somebody did say in the comments, I do want to see them do this with a group of men so that we can compare them. Yes, if anybody from Jubilee is watching right now, please do this. Do both of these with a group of men, the body one and the IQ one. And I would love to see how they compare to one another. And we will most definitely react to them on this show.
One person from that pair.
Okay. Wait, Maya, 2 people. Dang it. Okay.
Okay, they're dwindling.
There's just one more person.
It's us. I could leave.
It's up to you. I couldn't. Are you sure?
Enjoy.
Enjoy. Oh, that's it. My partner made the choice and was like, hey, if you want to stay, you can. If not, I'll stay. So they ended up leaving, which I kind of wish they stayed.
Look at that smile. The body language says it all. And then they made the choice, and I really wish that they had stayed. Cheesing so hard the whole time. That's what I mean about, and it's okay. It's okay that she's very confident that she's in the top 10 and she stands by her intelligence. I've noticed it with a couple girls where they're making statements, again, of humility, which we spoke about before, but underlying those statements of humility, that they do actually think that they're in the top 10, which is fine. Just say it. Just say that you think you're in the top 10.
Mistakes have been made.
Wow.
I felt that my partner was more enthusiastic. I felt like she had something to show and talk about, so I just let her do her thing.
So she made the read too. She made the read on that one.
Made it. I was going to leave before the top 10, to be honest, and the only reason I stayed was because people were telling me to stay. I think friends are great motivators, and I've made a lot of friends here today, and I would say it really made me feel capable and worthy, even if I have a hard time kind of deciding that for myself.
I prefer to process my feelings on someone. I'm finding my love. I'm an RWQ in the entire room, but we still need to narrow it down to just one person. You guys have 2 minutes to nominate who you want to be the one.
Okay.
Why don't we go around and say why we think it's us? Does anyone want to start first?
Yes. You want to start?
Okay. Yeah. I'm open to the idea of it being somebody else. I believe I have an over average IQ, so I'm actually planning on going to law school because I think I'm very structured with my analytical skills. So that's why I advocated for myself to kind of be one of the top 10.
I went to law school, MBA, business school, and optometry school.
See, it is this, what we said earlier, it's this sort of black and white view of high IQ means doctor, lawyer, it means physicist, it means scientist of some sort, and low IQ is everything out that falls outside of those professions. Y'all, I'll be real with y'all. There are some low IQ lawyers out there. There are some low IQ lawyers out there. So I don't know that it's the best way to make a judgment about IQ. I don't know what I would argue is the best way, but none of this is really checking out for me. I'd have to look at the IQ test that they took. They, of course, know what the questions were. And I would focus in more on the subject matters that were present in the questions and reinforce why you would have gotten those questions correct, given your educational background. I wouldn't necessarily focus on what your major is, or what you're intending to do with your education, or what occupation you're intending to have. There's a lot of people that intend to be lawyers and doctors and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, your professional educational aspirations don't really inform much about it, nor do it seems to be like, if I get a degree in any field, or if I have some kind of certification, then I can appeal to that and say that I'm intelligent because of that, which it means maybe something, but especially in today's day and age, they have, what do you call it, gradeflation, where more and more people are graduating despite having lower and lower achievement academically. And so it's becoming to mean less and less, but I can't help think of that other, I think it was a Jubilee video reacted to, where I think 10 people organized themselves by IQ, and the one that everybody thought was among the dumbest, or least intelligent, I should say, ended up being this like young, I think 16, 18-year-old country looking kid who had scored higher than all of them on the test. And, they wrote him off because he didn't say, I have an aspiration to be a doctor, or he didn't have a degree to hang his hat on. So I think there's a good lesson here of like, you really don't know. And a posture of humility is probably going to serve you better than putting so much stock in your aspirations or certifications.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just statistically, you'd be in a better position to just step out at any given point during this video.
Every school I've applied to, program I've applied to, I've gotten in. I really love to read. I'm an avid reader. So I average about 380 books per year, and I almost have a photographic memory.
What does almost having a photographic memory mean? I just have a question. A genuine question. I don't mean that to be like snarky. What does almost having a photographic memory mean? Because that would mean you don't have a photographic memory. I guess there's a way that they could test that, and you could be on the precipice of being qualified as having a photographic memory. Y'all let me know if you guys know anything about that.
Meow.
Memory of a bird. I thoroughly enjoy cognitive skills activities, and that's a strength of mine, and I graduated early from my university, and I began a graduate program. I dropped out because TikTok, but that was a valid opportunity. That was an intelligent decision in my opinion.
Oh my God, you know what? I don't know. The situation. I don't know, but I will say I know like random facts. I have ADHD, so it's kind of like I forget stuff and then stuff comes back aggressively. So book smarts, I don't know about that, but like anime, comic books, cartoons, arts, crafts. Oh, I know everything about that. But yeah,
I'm from Vietnam, and I was raised in a family where my parents didn't go to college. I tried my best to learn English. I came here like 8 years ago. I study and work myself up. So in terms of intelligence, I feel like you also have to put a lot of hard work and have like a big autonomy. The thing, like, you can do it. I'm just advocating for myself, but I think I have chosen who I think would be the smartest too.
My little anecdote is that I started doing this thing. I came up with like a function, like a math problem function that I just did for like a grounding exercise. And I started like telling it to people I went on dates with. So now it's like this running joke with like my friends and stuff that I'll give them the function on the first date or afterwards, and then they have to like solve it to go on a date, the second date. But it's not about solving it. That's like, it's just like I like to see how they like think about it and how creative they are and if they have fun in the dialect. So.
Damn, she got math riz. She and y'all math riz. Y'all get rizzed up with the functions on the first date. You know what? That's honestly good for her. If it's one of her interests and she's throwing that on the first date, it's probably a very easy way of like weeding out a guy who's really down for you and down for your personality. Because if he's down with the whole function thing, then that's a good little marker for her and her personality and whether or not you guys are compatible. So I'm with the math riz.
The question is it a good reason to make an argument for yourself as the smartest person in the room of 100 people? And that's where this whole final segment is. One, they said it'd be 2 minutes. It's much longer than 2 minutes at this point. But two, it's just cringe to me that if you make it that far, it's like, all right, I'm not going to sit here and try to like persuade y'all or give some justification of why I think I'm smart. I'm just going to bow out and let the results speak for themselves at this point, because there's no way to like say, well, because of this, this, and this, I think I'm smarter than the other top 10 smartest people in this room. How could you possibly know that? There's just no good way. And I saw David in the chat said all these people have main character syndrome. And at this point, I'm like, I don't know what's keeping you advocating for yourself in this way, unless you have some sort of narcissistic tendency. I'm sorry.
Maybe there was hella functions on that IQ test, and she was like, "Yo, every single time I go on a date, and I go on a lot of dates, I'm bringing functions to the function. She bringing functions to the function."
Yeah, I guess that's not really about my intelligence, but.
Oh, okay. Well, she got you. She beat you there, Taylor. She said that's not really about my intelligence.
A big reason that I'm here is because my friends and the friends that I've made here have been pushing me to stay, like encouraging me, like, you are smart enough, you are good enough, and it's really awesome to have like women encouraging other women to stick around and stay. I'm really proud of my capabilities that I have. It's not necessarily like a competition of like what I do and what I don't do. I'm just really proud of like how far I've come in my own academic journey, and like whether I'm the smartest person or not, like it doesn't really matter to me. I'm just like proud of my own progress and proud of my own capabilities. So I'd say that.
But also everybody is telling me to be here. Sorry, I'm not gonna try to bring. I think what she said is really valid. I'm proud of my own progress. I'm proud of my own academic and intellectual journey. And yeah, it's just cool to be participating in this. I stand by that.
Rock on. That's
Hello, I know academics isn't all of it. I've been in honors for like middle school, high school, college. I've gotten scholarships, many awards. I plan on going to law school, which is like very.
Honestly, the only valid argument that I can really think of is appealing to the questions on the test and then being like, or being a person who's like, I've taken 100 IQ tests and my IQ is like 145. And that's why I'm standing here right now, because I've done this a bajillion times.
And stuff. But yeah, I don't know if I'm the one, but I do believe I'm like up there. So yeah.
Yeah, after hearing everyone's stories, I definitely don't think I am the one, but I really resonate with what Taylor said, being a woman in STEM. I'm a chemist, and all of my workplaces, even my classes back in university, were all male-dominated, and I felt like that always kind of made me feel a level below everyone else in my class. But again, with the support of my friends and my peers, I know that I am smarter than what I think I am. And I think IQ too, it's a lot about exposure. It's genetics and exposure and life experiences. I've had so many different jobs in so many different industries.
They're doing your dirty with the music. That's an editing choice.
And I've worked amongst so many smart people that I continue to learn from day to day, and that I feel like has a lot to do with it.
A lot of the girls, when they were talking about themselves, started shaking and kind of getting like just nervous, to be honest, that they thought that they might have the highest IQ. It really did. It made me so emotional because I just feel like those girls were really smart, and I wish that they were more confident and honest about that.
Is it wrong to say that if I almost feel like if you had the highest IQ, it really would just be a matter of fact thing, and you would just be standing there saying like, I think I have the highest IQ and here's why. And that's what happened on the other Jubilee video that Taylor was referencing. The guy who actually ended up having the highest IQ, I believe he was actually in the army or something, and they discounted him for that, and they discounted him for being young, but he was very just matter of fact. I took this test, I scored in, this percentile. I feel like I know how to do this, and that. And he was written off for that sort of being matter of fact about it. And then it ended up being, that he was higher than anybody had anticipated. So I feel like the fidgeting and the nervousness and the trying to pigeonhole shield yourself from what's going on is maybe a sign that you probably aren't the one with the highest IQ.
Yeah, so I actually honestly don't think I have the highest IQ in this circle. I am so much more confident in my emotional intelligence and other ways that I actually view intelligence. And I actually think that the person with the highest IQ in the room may not be the most intelligent anyway. Yeah. But yeah, I'm working on advocating for myself, because at the end of the day, being grateful for it and using it for something good is the only way I can make peace with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, hold up. Wait a minute. Dang, this is difficult. I have a top 3 right now. Shoot. Compared to everybody else, their achievements, oh my God. I was like, dang, I'm sitting next to 3 people. I'm like, y'all are my top 3. I was like, if I could pick 3 people, oh my God, the people who are next to me, I nominate Desiree.
Yeah.
I don't agree. It's me. Also, thank you for the nomination.
I personally think it's Nancy. I think a lot of people were talking about how experience really builds you and shapes you, and I feel like you have a really, really strong story that kind of aligns with what we all think kind of builds IQ. So I honestly think it might be you.
That does not make sense whatsoever. I'm sorry. sorry. I'm sorry. Having a strong story does not translate to IQ. And mind you, I heard that girl's story and I was like, that is actually amazing to have two immigrant parents who did not receive an American education, and she in 8 years managed to achieve that and, and learn and function within a society that she's not used to. Incredible achievement. That story in no way translates to the number that you're going to get as far as IQ, but it is still an astonishing feat and something that she should be extremely proud of. But strong emotional story does not translate to IQ.
Something's pulling me towards Sydney.
I'm actually going to vote for Taylor. I think the way that you spoke, just like eloquently, really brought things together, and I was like, yeah, you seem very intelligent with like the way that you spoke about that. So yeah.
I agree. I think you were very intelligent, but I'm gonna go with Taylor because I think that what you said, I think it's a very like humble perspective for you to be self-aware. Like it's one of those people that's kind of like the background or like the sidekick, but they're super important, you know? And so I think that you need to step into your superhero thing, and I think, I want to advocate for you.
Put your cape on.
A lot of emotional doubles, like emotional speak, and like what are they called? What are the words that everybody uses? What are they called?
Pleasantries?
Yeah, something like that. I don't know. Buzzwords. Buzzwords is what I meant to say. Emotional buzzwords being thrown around.
All right, everyone. It looks like you all voted and have agreed that
We all
Taylor
voted.
is nominated to be the one. Everyone else, please leave the group. It's time to find out if Taylor is the one.
Okay, here we go. Stepping out.
Okay,
I gotta think about this. Who is gonna be the one? I would feel like if I was editing this episode, like from the position of somebody who works at Jubilee, you'd probably sprinkle in the one who has the highest IQ. You would think, like in interviews of some sort, but I don't know. The thing is, they've said so little that actually has to do with IQ that I have no way of giving you an actual answer of who the person is, because none of the questions or the discussions that they were having actually signal to having a higher IQ. Like I said, I'd have to hear about the stuff that was present in the questions and whether or not they feel extremely proficient in those subject matters, or hear from somebody who takes a lot of IQ tests and says, I rank pretty high with IQ. So I really have absolutely no guess as to who it is.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the girl who talked about having a photographic memory, I mean, that seems to be something that would be correlated with like high cognitive ability, along with the fact that she's been to all these different schools. But again, you can only put so much weight in those things, and out of 100 other people, that's a cool story, but who knows how many other people in there that may have other things. And like we talked about before, the guy who happened to have the highest IQ in the other video was very unassuming, and I think it's more likely to be someone who's unassuming and not someone who's putting a lot of weight in their story or academic achievement.
Yeah, I'm thinking, what could it be? Like maybe Blue Top Girl, who's featured right here. You can sort of see her silhouette because the light's not catching her, but maybe that's only if I'm guessing, somebody featured throughout the episode. I don't know.
I'm gonna open it. I don't think that IQ has anything to do with
obviously not her. She's opening her envelope.
like real intelligence or what I actually value in intelligence, so this number's not gonna mean much. Yeah?
Okay, this number's not gonna mean much.
Okay. Are you sure?
Okay, she's top 10.
Okay, I guess I take it back. So I got 2.
Wait, did she just say this number's not gonna mean much? And then she goes, she gets to the number 2, and then she says, I guess I take it back? Is that what she's, just let me know if that's what she's actually saying. Is she saying it doesn't mean much, but she got the high score, and now she's saying immediately, I guess I take it back. At least she's being honest.
Yeah, and it's like the girl before who was like, oh, this isn't going to mean anything, blah, blah, blah. And then she saw she had a high number and then was crying. And then she said that she was proud of it, which she had a gentle, nice demeanor throughout that. But it's also like, if you weren't going to be ashamed if it was low, then why are you proud that it's high? You're showing that you do take something personally with you associate it with your worth as a person if you're proud of it. And so it's just like inconsistent, selective reasoning there.
Yeah, so the test either means something or it doesn't mean something. And the reality is that, of course, it means something. it does. But she ranked 2. That's awesome. Okay, so she wasn't number 1. She was number 2 out of 100, and her IQ is 133, which I believe what the U.S. average IQ, or I think altogether average IQ is 100, right. And I think a standard deviation is 10, isn't it? So she's like 3.3 standard deviations above the average. It's very good.
Okay, I thought it wouldn't mean much because
unless the standard deviation is 15. Y'all let me know. I think it's 10 or 15.
I actually assumed that I would score really low. So this actually means a lot. I'm so surprised.
This means nothing, except I scored high, which means it actually means a lot.
I'm so surprised I would do this well. I tried really hard on the test, actually. I thought it was really hard. Maybe I need to take my own advice about being forward and confident and intelligent, so thanks. Wait, are you sure that that was my test? Wow.
Yeah, be forward, be confident. Just don't turn it into like a form of narcissism. I'm all for like being confident and standing up for yourself and, you know, being self-aware of your place and not being afraid of that self-awareness, as long as it doesn't translate into like hubris and you're, you know, you think you're better than everybody. It's a total normal thing to be confident. I feel as though I think every single girl that they've done the cutaway to opening the envelope has said something self-deprecating, then opened the envelope, or like put down the test and then open the envelope, or said it doesn't matter and then open the envelope. Just accept what's on the other end.
Thank you.
What? Oh, I'm so excited. It's my golden ticket. Oh my God. Am I gonna get chocolate if I open this?
Okay.
Lord have mercy. Oh my goodness. That's awful. What? Do I have to show it? I'm shook. Oh no. Please hire me.
Me too.
I'm so sorry. I'm very smart. Girl, I have 100 people. Girl, I can't go outside. I'm not that intelligent. I don't street smarts. Oh Lord, I need to read more.
Taylor, will you please step
I love her personality, but it's fine. 82 is fine. Like, you don't have to worry about it. It's not the worst thing in the world. And like, again, it's the self-deprecating jokes. I can't go outside. You know, I can't be in society. I'm not smart enough. It's fine. Again, a lot of room for like growth and progress, even though, you know, 82 doesn't matter. You're clearly a functioning adult who's out there in the world, you know, doing stuff and has a great personality and a good vibe. So it doesn't matter.
up on the podium? Okay, so how are you feeling right now?
Really nervous, to be honest. I'm very, very thankful that like people think so highly of me. Like I feel very, very respected in this group of women right now, which is something that I never thought I would say. But it's definitely very nerve-wracking to be up here.
Yeah, yeah.
It's very tough.
She never thought that she would be respected in a group of women. And does being the one translates, or being the one that people think is the one, translate to respect? Do they not respect the other women who are around them? These are just questions that are popping up in my head.
Have to hear like so many other like amazing women talking about like how intelligent they are, and to like stand up there and say like, no, I fit in with these other women. So.
Right. Now it's time to see if Taylor is the one.
Okay.
If the light turns green, then Taylor is the one. If the light turns red, then it's someone else in the crowd. Let's change the light in 3, 2, 1.
Okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
You did so good. You killed it. I'm so proud. Oh, it's really.
Oh, why is she crying?
You killed it. It's so out of your comfort zone.
I'm not like sad that I'm
I know, it's out of your
like,
comfort zone.
I'm
That's so good that you did that, though. It's so good.
I can't believe people voted for me.
So many people here that were saying you deserve that, whether it was green or red.
When it turned red, I was not disappointed. I had a feeling that I wasn't the one. I don't know. I would like to know where I was ranked, but I knew that I wasn't the one, and I kept saying that, but nobody wanted to listen to me when I said I wasn't the one. Okay.
Can you show the camera?
Oh. I'm not unhappy that I
24.
looked at it, but I think like a big thing that I preach is like comparison is like.
Uh-oh.
I think like comparison really is the thief of joy, and I find myself like getting caught in comparing myself to other people a lot. And like, I think it's something I really need to work on, is to just like really like do my own thing and be my own person and like not compare myself to how other people are doing. So I'm kind of mad that I just looked at it, but it's nice to know where I stand and nice to know like maybe from like here on out I'm gonna stop trying to compare myself to how others are treating me and like just go off of who I am.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess that was an overwhelming experience to go through. I'm assuming that's what brought about the emotion. To maybe she did sort of have the expectation that was growing in her as people were telling her that she's the smartest in the room, and when the red light goes off, it makes you feel like the rug's been pulled out from under you a little bit. It's arguably an overwhelming experience. At least she's sort of validating, I am letting this number affect me, and that's why it's getting to me a little bit and why it's making me emotional. But girl, 24 is good, and it also doesn't matter all that much. And one of the comforting things about the whole experience is that like you're all 100 adults who are out there in the world, hopefully thriving, surviving, doing your own thing, being your own person. And this is just a cool little test to like see where you rank amongst 100 strangers. It doesn't carry much weight whatsoever as to who you are as a person, what you're going to go out and do. And if you let comparison between like you and others, especially 100 strangers that were just like brought in from random parts of LA, affect you that much, it's going to be a hard time, I think, in life in general, because there's a million places where you can be comparing yourself to other people. And of course, we all do it. We all have our insecurities. We all have moments where what she exactly said is true. Comparison is the thief of our joy. But that's we got to brain train out of that cycle. And it's of course easier said than done, and I fall for it all the time. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Okay, it's time to find out who the one really is. We tabulated everyone's scores, and we found out the one really is Anahit.
Oh damn! I thought we were gonna get a drum roll. No, we didn't get a drum roll. Nothing. She just said the name. Who is that?
Oh my God!
Anahit. She's the girl who stepped out earlier and said, she was way more enthusiastic about being in the circle, so I just felt like I would leave. Very matter of fact. She was very matter of fact. She just said she was more enthusiastic. I decided to step out. We'll see. Let's hear about Anahit. Not the heart out to the fans, not the heart out to the crowd. I love
I'm like shaking.
Yeah. Anahit, can you just tell us how you're feeling? Why did you leave early, and how are you feeling now?
Well, right now I'm shaking. I'm jittering. I don't believe it. I left early because I felt like there's just so many smart women in here, and having conversations with them, like, I just felt, they're just greater intelligence, greater emotional intelligence, greater life experiences, and I just felt that, I could compare, but I didn't want to push. I didn't want to do any, put myself on top, but here I am, and I'm still in disbelief, and I'm shaking, and I'm grateful for all of you girls. I have so much love for you. I was shocked. I didn't process it at first, that my name was called, because 43. I don't know, I just didn't really think about it. There's chemists and lawyers.
An IQ of 143 indicates a very superior classification according to the current Wechsler, I don't know how to say that, intelligence scales. Okay, from WISE 2006. Okay.
In the group, and then I'm here as a DJ, being number one. So that's, I don't know.
It's a fun job. She's a DJ. See, and now everybody was the whole time talking about lawyer, doctor, chemist, scientist, all this different stuff. A chemist is a scientist. I don't know why I said that, but, and she's saying, I'm a DJ, and she got a 143. That's a really high. And what, well, hold on, let's see if they show any other rankings or anything like that.
It was shocking.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so photographic memory girl, or almost photographic memory girl, was number 5. Number 8, she was in the top 10, sticking around. 6 and 7 weren't in the top 10. And there's number 10, we got her earlier. So they had a few of the top ones in that final group, but not all. And that's interesting because number 1 was a 143 IQ. Number 2 was 133. So if the standard deviation is 10, then she's another standard deviation above the second girl, which is just nuts. That's like way higher. That was a runaway game, as they call it in Jeopardy. She was taking that. Yeah, I mean, there you go. A DJ was the one with the highest IQ amongst the future lawyers and doctors and, you know, women in STEM and all these different things. And there you go. That's right.
You did call it that it would be somebody we saw earlier and that it would be someone unassuming. And it certainly ended up being the case. I think it's interesting how, you know, the premise for this video was very much specifically along the lines of IQ and ranking along those lines and a test in that sense. But it became sort of watching this a test of character, a test of like how you get your self-worth and sense of identity, a test of whether or not you have the humility, etc. So I think the social dynamics or like identity sort of dynamics around how people dealt with dealing with the question of intelligence and where you are ranked is the more interesting dynamic of this video, as opposed to just who happens to have the highest intelligence in the room.
Yeah, it was much more interesting to sort of delve into the characters and the sort of outside external forces that were bringing about their judgments and the things that they said. And I think if there's something to take away from this video, it's, you know, be confident in yourself, but also be self-aware. Don't shield yourself from the reality of a situation, accept the reality, and then figure out whether that reality actually means something. Because in this case, the number that they got on their IQ meant something as to, you know, the direct test they took and how that translates to intelligence, but it didn't mean anything greater than that. And a lot of women took it to mean something greater, and it brought about, you know, tears of joy and tears of sadness and feeling like you don't belong and, you know, having your joy stolen from you, when in reality, you took an iPhone IQ test and it doesn't mean that much with, you know, 100 random strangers who knows what you're going to go on to do and how successful you're going to be, or what success even means, what intelligence even means in this case. There's just so many different things that we let influence our opinions and sort of steal away the present moment from us and fill us with anxiety and fear and all these different things. And it's sometimes unnecessary. Sometimes it's warranted, but sometimes it's unnecessary. Now we're going to get into your guys' super chats.
Yes, indeed. Let's hear from you, very smart people out there.
Yes.
Don't Be a Huberman is our first one. And he says, hey there, A and Tay. I was watching the 4B video and 4B movement video, and I couldn't help but notice that you asked the women who y'all be dating and why did you pick him? Which means it's your fault for picking him. RP facts.
Well, yeah, to some extent. I mean, there is something to be said. If you guys didn't watch yesterday's video, I encourage you to go and do so. But there's a 4B movement taking off here in the United States, at least online, where women are swearing off men and they're saying, we're not going to date men, we're not going to have sex with them, we're not going to have kids, we're not going to get married, all these different things. And a lot of them talk about how horribly men have treated them. And I did ask the question, well, why are we choosing these men? Why are we staying with these men? There are good men out there. There's some accountability to be taken when you are constantly finding yourself in poor relationships, because that does mean that your choice is leading you to poor relationships to some extent. Now, some men trick you, and they're all roses and flowers and hearts in the first part of your relationship, and then they turn out to be horrible human beings, and there's something to be said for that. But more often than not, there are some very clear red flags that people display within their personality, but we end up with them anyways because we choose to ignore the red flags, we don't notice the red flags, or we just decide, I want companionship. So we have to remember that as women and as men. If you're a man and you're constantly in shitty relationships with women, you're the common denominator in all those relationships.
You came for the honest truth. Kwazakule says, happy Wednesday. Amala, just so you know, you're the only famous person so far who has ever reacted/shared a story of mine. It's my proudest achievement.
Well, I'm glad I could give that to you. I don't remember. I'm sure I've done that many times because I always see you on my social media pages. I see your name, so I'm happy to be able to do that for you. Thank you for the support. Appreciate it.
Dale says, heard y'all discussing Braveheart as a descendant of Robert the Bruce. The problem isn't just inaccuracy, but it credits Wallace with things that Robert the Bruce did and totally made up him betraying Wallace.
Uh-oh.
I wish you knew the movie. That's scandalous.
Damn, he's got to stick up for his ancestor. You got to go remake Braveheart now. Tell the true story.
I have mixed feelings about this because, like, I love, like, classical storytelling that, you know, just gets the hero's journey and raises the stakes and everything and, like, clearly portrays a hero and
right.
the challenges he has to face and facing betrayal and stuff. But I also love history, and I very much value historical accuracy when it comes to storytelling and in any medium, and in film too. So I don't like the idea that, you know, we had to change history in order to make a better film, but I also really appreciate the film as someone who happens not to be super familiar with Scottish histories, which I will hopefully learn more about when I visit there later this year.
Well, I hope it's not claiming to be accurate in any way, shape, or form at the very least.
I don't think it really did. It wasn't like, here's, you know, I'm sure it's like loosely based on a true story kind of vibe.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, someone mentioned the Napoleon movie. Like, I didn't even watch it because I was super excited about it because I love, like, history and historical biopics.
I watched
and stuff.
it.
And I heard it was like a deconstruction of them and just like not really like, here's what happened in history. Here's how this man who achieved something significant did it or anything like that. But just like
it just wasn't that great.
Betrayal.
Yeah, it just wasn't that great. And it was like more of a focus on, I guess, the romance, which I guess was the intention of the film rather than being like a historical depiction of his placement as a leader and like his, you know, strategic choices and things like that. But yeah, it's just weird.
I hate that when they take like these epic characters in history and like rather than taking the opportunity to bring to life something that means something to humanity, that they focus on one narrow dimension of the person or put their own like deconstructive messaging on top of it or something like that. And just you wasted this $100 million budget to do something. It's just, ugh.
Yeah, dude, I was almost snoozing in the theater watching Napoleon, but they did have some very cool battle scenes. Like the cinematography was really like awesome to watch. It was a beautiful film to watch, but I don't know about how it translated as far as like stepping away from it, having learned something about Napoleon.
Meh. I see y'all mentioning Alexander too. That was another missed opportunity. All right, we're going to get off this.
Sorry.
A therapy session on film trauma. Aether says, happy Wednesday, Amal and Taylor. This is definitely the first super chat. Don't believe anything otherwise. It's all misinformation.
Oops.
Just eat your cockroach burgers and got that sharp pointy thing with the liquid. I don't
Sharp pointy thing with the liquid. I don't know what that is.
Is that another World Economic Forum ration
it must
that we're
be,
receiving?
I guess, but I'm sorry. The reality of the matter is that you are not the first super chat.
I just got a picture of like the water of life going through.
Oh,
in the,
Paul Atreides.
The Al Gaib thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh dear. Armando sends a super chat. No message. Thank you, Armando.
Appreciate you.
Hitland44 says, back when I was teaching, I would not allow my students to say they couldn't do something or were bad at it. I'd harp on that constantly. I told them, don't lose the game before it starts.
Yes, I love that. Sounds like you've got great philosophy as a teacher. Yeah, you shouldn't allow students to do that because it will be, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy at some point. If you're constantly looking down on yourself and saying you're going to do poorly or you can't do something, yeah, you're bound to just prove yourself right. You are actually setting yourself up for never learning.
Yeah, my dad used to say, can't is a cuss word. You're not allowed to say I can't. and I think there's something to be said for like, you know, pushing your kids within reason to do things that they don't believe they can do.
Yeah.
I've seen like in my little nephews, like, I mean, when they're really young, it's a little different, but like they put him in soccer and like he didn't really do very well or whatever. And then he just was like, oh, no, I don't like sports. And it's like, I'm not going to let you adopt that belief that you hate all sports because you didn't do well in like 6-year-old soccer. We're going to push past that a little bit. Doesn't mean I'm going to force you to play your whole life,
right.
But I'm not going to let you accept that limiting belief and that be the reason you didn't play.
100%. You're
going to have the opportunity to be good and I'm not going to let you count yourself out before it starts. So,
yeah.
Great point. Pitland. Celtic Blacksmith says, my dad had me and my brothers take an IQ test when I was about 11 or 12 to see if we qualified for Mensa. He joined decades prior. I never tell anybody my score, though. It always felt tacky to me.
Huh. So I'm assuming it was high. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, probably.
But yeah, I I remember the whole Mensa kid thing. I didn't realize if it was, I didn't know if it was still a thing. Is Mensa still, I'm sure it's still a thing. It's a long-standing institution, but I haven't heard of from the Mensa kids in a long time. It's just gifted kids with like high IQ.
Yeah, and there's something to be said for like, you know, kids who are higher IQ learn at a faster pace than kids with lower IQ. And if they're all put in the same cookie cutter educational situation, then that can hold some back and it can have adverse results on the ones who are being challenged in a way that they're not prepared for.
Yeah.
And that can inhibit their learning at their proper pace as well. So it's at some point, it's probably good to be smaller classes or more specialized based on your ability.
Yeah.
Hitland again says, hey peeps, if you're curious about IQ tests and how to think about them and cognition in general, look up the books of Neil Flynn or Charles Murray.
Neil Flynn or Charles Murray. I'm going to write that down.
I follow Charles Murray on Twitter. He wrote a book called The Bell Curve. It's very, very controversial, but as far as I have read and can tell, it was only controversial because it gave scientific results that offended people.
About men being on the higher ends of the higher and lower ends?
Not the male-female divide. From what I've gathered is pretty much even. There was one theory that like men are more on the extreme, so like there's more men who are very unintelligent, and there's more men who are very intelligent.
Yeah.
And the average woman though would be smarter than the average man under that theory.
Right.
But I've read that is disputed. There's a lot of studies that apparently say men have like a small, like under 5-point advantage over women, but that also changes a little bit with age and stuff. So anyways, but there's also like the racial IQ stuff that is hyper controversial as well.
Okay.
And I think that's the one that got him a lot of feedback, but it's just I think it's so easy to conflate the idea of like what you're capable of and self-worth with the narrow measure of like cognitive ability in the context of studying IQ, that it's just a difficult topic to engage with in general. And as we saw in this video, so, but there is a domain of science that deals with it, but it usually gets conflated with other questions. Anyways, but yeah, thanks for the recommendation. Pitland. Aether says, not sure if y'all will end up mentioning this, but negative self-talk, I'm stupid or I'm dumb, is actually really bad for your brain development. Don't do it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. You're like, I mean, not in any sort of scientific way am I stating this, but you're like shutting off pathways essentially by, throwing the negativity in there. And it can't be helpful. I'll say that at the very least, it can't be helpful.
Yeah, I'd rather have 10-point lower IQ than be plagued with the negative self-talk. That's going to be much more limiting for your future than even having lower intelligence, in my estimation. Jason Lawrence says, modern feminist and gender ideology seeks to dismantle and undermine ranking in general. Destroying traditional beauty, for example, destroys special.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about that. If you don't believe in like a hierarchy or any sort of like objective measurement of anything, then ranking is out the window, and we're all just in this never-ending conversation about everything being beautiful and everything being intelligent and everything being wonderful, and I'd just rather get down to brass tacks on some of these things.
Yeah, I mean, get into Jordan Peterson territory, who talks about hierarchies, and that's a fixture of how all species have evolved, is like dominance hierarchies, and there is an impulse that cuts against the idea of hierarchy in general that I think does manifest itself in the woke stuff we're seeing these days, and
definitely
it's out there. Lizzie Girl says, thanks to both of you for being your awesome selves. There's times when I have a photographic memory that has splotches in it, like a burned piece of paper. Hard to describe, but I get it.
Huh. So you would argue that you have an almost photographic memory. So there's a go. That's an example. I don't quite understand it, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I wish I had a photographic memory.
I know. How awesome would that be?
I have like the opposite of photographic memory. I can't remember my dreams. My wife dreams like every night, and she tells me about them, and I can't remember. And yeah, I'm terrible with like little small details and number sequences and names and all that stuff.
I think you can brain train yourself to remember your dreams, but it involves like journaling and waking up and immediately writing down what you remember and all that stuff. And then over time, your brain like I guess, develops that capability. I don't know.
I need to get a dream training from Cobb in Inception. Who can take
There
me
you go.
on levels and protect me from the bad guys trying to steal my secrets. Don't Be a Huberman says, not going to lie, I don't know who's number 1 out of the final 10, but Nancy standing there has my vote. Taylor, you look like that white girl Taylor, LOL.
So you look like the girl who's almost...
Do all white people
I
look
guess you
alike?
guys could have been, like, if you said that's my cousin or my sister, I'd be like, okay, your cousin Taylor.
It's racist, y'all. You're just
Yeah.
saying all white people look the same.
You guys have similar features. I don't know who Nancy is
fair.
or who you were going after, but I don't remember Nancy. Sorry.
Let's see. Ash Roach says, hey, y'all, I am late to join and haven't even watched yet, but I never catch y'all live. I just wanted to say hi and show you guys support. Love you both. Chef's kiss.
Oh, thank you for that. We really appreciate it. I'm glad that you got a moment to catch today's
thank you,
show for
Ash.
just a bit.
Armando says, I admire the ones who are humble.
Yeah, I mean, humble's good, and you know, I doesn't typically steer you in the wrong direction. I just think like just be
Not
self-aware.
falsely humble, like you said before.
Exactly. Don't be falsely humble. I think a lot of people can hopefully, you know, see through that for the most part. But yeah, humility's good. Confidence is also good, but it's all hinged on being self-aware. If you're self-aware, then you're good.
Yeah. And yeah, one more thought about the girl who said like she's proud of her IQ. I think like being proud or humble, this should be separate from like, I would say a proper response would say more something like I'm grateful, because it's not so much something that you earned or worked for insofar as something that's a product of your genetics and perhaps your like, you know, educational upbringing and things like that. So if you want to say like, instead of saying I'm proud of my IQ, you would say like, I'm grateful. And if you don't have a high IQ, then okay, we all have different limitations or challenges or things in our lives that, you know, like maybe you're on the shorter side, maybe you're too skinny, whatever. Like those are things that you can look at as overcome, but also never let those speak to your fundamental value and belief in yourself and like your value as a person.
Yeah, 100%. I doubt she was doing much work to like, you know, increase her IQ. And I wonder if somebody's ever done that, like if they've ever started out pretty low on the spectrum of IQ and then just like, I'm sure many have done this. I would love to like hear the story of like how they trained and educated to raise the number.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you could do better on the tests, like through just studying the tests and preparing and stuff. But for the most part, they're designed not to be something that you like
can develop over time,
study and get better at.
Interesting. Okay.
Like, IQ is malleable to some extent, but as far as what I understand from the people who study it, it's not something that's like malleable beyond a few points or something.
Interesting.
But
I didn't know that.
Don't take my word as gospel. Look into it yourselves, but that is what I've seen. Nicodemus, 1984, says, cheers to both of you. Wondering, as a French guy, what factors lead some girls to say like 50 times in one sentence? Is it linked to regions or education?
I would imagine it's regional. I guess you could say it's education based as well, because there are some people who learn not to use filler words in the way that they speak. There are others that don't. But I imagine in France, there is some sort of sound or a word that is used to fill time in between the things that you're saying. Do French people have an or an that they use when they're trying to think of words? It'd be the same thing as like.
Yeah, I think French people, from what I remember and like having studied a little bit, just sort of hold vowels, you know, so if they're like talking about something, be like, le, and then like, I don't think there's something they repeat over and over again, but maybe, I mean, that's my, you know, knee-jerk hypothesis, I would say. But I think every language has to, because it's more of a human thing where we're grasping for a little bit more time to process what we're saying when we're talking too fast or nervous or whatever. Let's see. Sandy G says, I'm glad I caught alive. Will you ever do a deep dive about MLK Jr.?
I don't know. Maybe one of these days. I think that could be valuable to a certain extent. A lot of people do reference him in the arguments that they make, so maybe at some point we will. I've done little things about MLK in that he might not have been the greatest individual that people thought that he was, but maybe we'll think about doing a deep dive, maybe on MLK Day next year.
Be an MLK Day truther.
Yeah.
Don't Be Huberman says, yo, what does that levels girl think she's doing up there in the top 10? She probably scored a 304 on that test. Get off the stage and eat a salad.
My gosh. If she did score 304, that'd be astounding. And definitely means she deserves to be up there. Yes. She would definitely be deserving of being up there. That's unheard of. Yes, that is literally off the charts. Yes, but I get what you were saying.
He just had to find a way to put the 304 thing into
He did.
Noah says, a PhD biomedical engineer friend of mine asserts that social isolation can be a strong indicator of high intelligence. Do you think this could be skewing results here?
Well, you would imagine, if that is the case, that somebody with a high IQ would not sign up to do a video like this in the first place that requires socializing with 99 other people in order to get the result and be at the top. And yeah, it does seem that way, at least in the high IQ people that I've seen or met. They do seem to have a sort of colder disposition about them, but I don't know that that tracks amongst all people of high IQ, or if that's a generalization that can be made about them. But if that is true, then it would make sense that they wouldn't be in a Jubilee video like this. But still, a 143 is pretty high, and she was sociable, it seems.
Lily Green says, today I learned that the amount of times you say like in one sentence is directly correlated to your IQ. I did notice it a little bit, but it wasn't something that like jumped out at me in this video. Maybe I'm just so conditioned to listening to reaction content of women speaking online that I tuned them out.
For a few people, I heard it and I could recognize that they were using it more than others would. But yeah, I don't know that that translates to whether or not you have a high IQ or not, but maybe it does.
I'm sure a lot of it is like how comfortable you are in front of camera, speaking in public, like in those situations. And the more people were uncomfortable, they feel like they have to perform, and then you get into getting ahead of yourself. Yeah. So. Emily Tiedman says, I wish I had been invited to this. I have tested into the 99th percentile on various IQ tests, but I think the biggest part is that I don't know everything and I do dumb things quite often.
You do dumb things quite often. See, yep, doesn't always track in the real world as far as how you behave and what goes on. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see where you'd be. Where is the 99th percentile numbers wise? I don't know what that would be. Would you be number one on that, or?
I'd suppose you'd have to be like 1 or 2 out of 100.
Yeah.
But, I don't know if a 142 would be 99th percentile overall.
Right.
Yeah, but that's interesting.
It's all about who you get.
Indeed. And yeah, to the point of high IQ people doing dumb things, we haven't really explored that, but there's plenty of highly intelligent, like social commentators or people in STEM or different fields that have very, very bad ideas that they advocate and live out. And I liken it to like putting a really high-powered train on tracks. If the tracks are going in a bad direction, then it doesn't matter if you're going faster, you're still going in a bad direction. So just because you have a high IQ doesn't necessarily mean that you're wise or going to be like successful in all domains of life, like with your family, with everything else. So I think that's worth mentioning as well.
Yep.
Aether says it's giving woke therapist word salad from a few episodes ago. Honestly, these girls are throwing words together, hoping it'll make a sentence.
I don't think that. I think they were quite coherent in the arguments they were making. They just don't track logically, some of them. Some of them don't.
I always love the callbacks, though. Savrix says, when I said years ago, we must be aware not to let our boundaries of perception become barriers of perception that can't be moved or modified willingly, y'all understood immediately when others can't. Brain emoji.
Wait a second.
Still understand it this time? Did you lose that?
Savrix every time. Yeah, do it again.
We must be aware not to let our boundaries of perception to become barriers of perception that can't be moved or modified willingly.
I was switching the boundaries and the barriers out, and I was thinking, okay, wait, I'm trying to make this make sense. But yes, now I understand.
Should go into poetry, Savrix.
For real, if you're not already.
On everything you say.
My goodness.
Madeline says, or Madeline must be, program I was in as a teen had IQ requirement. I wound up having to take a second IQ test because the first one was skewed by a wrist injury.
Interesting. Huh.
So, like slow you down and it was timed or something?
I don't know how that works. Maybe you're in so much pain that you can't think straight.
Emily Tiedemann says, or follow up, for the people who think they're the smartest often aren't. Intelligent people constantly suffer from imposter syndrome. We're often underachievers and socially awkward. You won't know when we're smart.
Huh. Yeah, that could make sense. And I would think if you are smart, you would be smart enough to know that others around you are just as capable as being as smart as you are, and there would be a sort of built-in humility with your intellect if you are being logical. It's just the logical thing to think. So that would lead to them not being as forward and direct about their intellect because they don't know whether or not they're the smartest. And a smart person would know that they don't know that. And somebody who's ignorant would be more bombastic and, fighting more for the position of being number one.
Celtic Blacksmith says, we have Braveheart. Now we need someone to make a movie about Cuchulainn, or Cuchulainn, pronounced as if Colin is super cool, LOL. I don't know what he's talking about.
I don't know who that is either.
It must be,
what that is.
I'm assuming it's a Celtic figure in Celtic history because it looks like that sort of language that it's derived from. But,
Got it.
I would watch it.
He'd watch it. He's already down. He doesn't know what it is. He's down.
Yeah, if it's got history and all that, I love
Seems like Braveheart,
Spaces says, thumbnail for this live was genius. Kudos to the editors.
Hey, that's Taylor.
Yeah, I made this one. We both make them, by the way. We have like our agency makes some of them for the other videos, and for the lives, it's usually Amal or me.
Yeah.
So glad you.
If you see one that you do like, it was us. If you didn't like it, it wasn't us.
People.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes we have dumb ideas, and hopefully they make sense.
Yes, hopefully they do.
Like Amala found on Twitter the other day about the P. Diddy story, and it was like, did he do it? Someone said that. It was a 50 Cent documentary.
Yeah.
And I was like, should we put that in the thumbnail? And she's like, yeah. And then so many of y'all
liked
made
the
comments
thumbnail
and thought it was hilarious. So,
yeah. Did he do it?
We have fun with it. Lorraine Grubbs says, I relate to the emotions these women displayed. As an A student in school, I was bullied by the popular crowd, which compromised my confidence. My guess is these women experienced similar situations.
Yeah, there's a lot of just different experiences that we get in our youth that shape us as adults and give us these built-in insecurities that we carry around with us. And I imagine there's a lot of that. We also self-inflict insecurity on ourselves.
Don't be a Huberman says, Amala Nancy was the Vietnam girl in the middle who should have won because she's hot. I'd go on that show just so I can talk to her LOL IDC about winning.
Oh my goodness. Leave Nancy alone. Leave Nancy and her 8 years of achievements alone.
Yeah. Alex, you could have been the first trans woman to be on that video.
There we go, exactly.
Dressed up like Gorlock.
Yep.
But it's interesting, though. Jubilee seems to always feature a trans person in their, like, women versus men or videos or, like, these women versus these women. There's always a trans person. And it appears like they did not have a trans person in this video, which I guess would be credit to biology and reality.
Yeah.
At least in this
instance. I guess we didn't get one.
Chicken. Oh, were you going to say something?
I said, I just guess we didn't get one. I didn't see all 100 of them, though, so it could have been one.
Yeah, this is true.
Could have been one.
That would have been a big risk to take, because imagine, like, that happens to be the winner.
The number one.
Yeah.
The biological
a
man.
riot on your hands.
Yeah, yikes.
Chicken Pork Adobo says, I qualified for robotics, electrical engineering when I took an exam for college, but don't think I'm smart because my mom says A is not good. She wanted A+.
Well, tell mom she's wrong. That doesn't make you not smart. And that's honestly not a good mindset to have towards children. Sorry, mom, but that's not a good way to view children and the value of their intellect.
Yeah. Do you remember those? This is probably a millennial thing, but they used to have these memes that were like high expectations, Asian father. You remember those?
No, I don't know that I've seen that.
Okay, we won't go there. But yeah, basically.
Never
it's
mind.
Anyways, we'll look some up sometime. Google it. Arsian says, a little off topic, but because you did a video on Andrew Huberman, how many of you think it was all made up since there's no hard evidence?
I don't think it was made up. I think if it was made up, you'd very quickly get a response from Huberman or his team saying this is 100% made up. The fact that we've gotten relative silence in the wake of it, it tracks. Also, just look at him. Look at how old he is. He's like a bachelor. He's never been married. None of it really sounds like it doesn't make sense. It's just, it's not the best argument for trying to cancel somebody or expose them, but it does seem to be true.
Aethers again says, you guys should react to Jubilee's new middle ground, Black Christians versus Black Atheists. It got pretty interesting. Also, where my Eclipse homies at?
I started watching it. I just got bored rather quickly. With like the first prompt, I was like, what are we even talking about at this point? The influence of the church on Black culture and black. I was like, okay, I wasn't too invested in the episode. I did try to check it out for you guys to see if it would be interesting, but I didn't find it all that interesting. You guys let me know if you really want me to watch it though, and we'll make it happen.
Yeah, I didn't watch it. I looked at the prompts and it's a lot of stuff about like the Black church, which I don't really know much about as a Christian, but it could be interesting to me.
It wasn't an actual debate about the existence of God. So,
right.
Which is all I care about. So
right, that's the more interesting domain within it, but it's like Black people disputing about Black church issues.
Yeah,
kind of
and was Jesus
narrow.
Black and all this different stuff. I'm like, I don't care.
Oofda. Saverick says, we all only know what we know. A quote from Amala Epinobi. It's my favorite super chat reply of yours. Might seem simple statement, but it's powerful for the mind to understand.
It is. Thank you for that. That's so nice. Wow. I'm getting quoted. I don't know if I've been quoted like that before. We all only know what we know. I'll take that. That is a good statement.
Yeah.
So always
something
to
on an
remind
Instagram
yourself.
graphic.
Yes, it's a humbling. That's a humbling thing to remind yourself. We all only know what we know.
And that was our last one of the day. So something contemplative to land on.
Awesome. Great notes to end the show on. Thank you so much, Savrix. We appreciate you always in our super chats. We appreciate all of you guys, all of you watching right now, all of you who are supporting the show. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below on the video we watched today, which was 100 women trying to decide who has the highest IQ. They were not, in fact, correct. And it ended up being Anna Heat, who was awesome. Pretty dope DJ with apparently a very high IQ. So drop your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, if you disagree with anything that was said in this episode, duke it out, but do that respectfully. We did get one more super chat from Kwazakule, who says, if Amala was there, they would have had to create a new top position just for her. Also, been meaning to say, Taylor, you're really smart. You know so much. I do not think I would have been number one in this whole IQ test thing, but maybe I need to take an IQ test on this show at some point and we can find out where I would have ranked. But I don't think I would have been number one. I'll leave Anna. She can keep her spot there. Guys, thank you so much for watching the show. Hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And I will see you tomorrow with a video where we're talking about mixed race kids born to single race parents. It was an interesting one, a heartwarming one, if you will. And you'll get to check that out tomorrow, so keep an eye out. All right. Bye, guys.